Hey guys, it's Ian here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're doing another manga review. Today we're looking at Golden Kamuy Arc 3, which is chapters 22 to 27, which are collected in the back 2/3 of volume 3 of Golden Kamuy, and the first chapter or two of the fourth book, the fourth volume of Golden Kamuy. There's only a few chapters, and I think this is supposed to be the Greatest Hunter arc. I think it's what it's called. So this is by author Satoru Noda, who is pretty cool. I actually really like their work here in Golden Kamuy. I don't know if their work on Dog's Red is quite as good, but I think people do seem to like it. The publisher is Viz Media. Obviously, this is a SIG title, which means it used to be $13, and now I think is $15 per book. I think. I'm not quite sure. Some of them are $17 if they're like the Naoki Urasawa ones, right? So it's kind of unclear what the price range for these books is. And the demographic is seinen. The genre here is Western/frontier story. Like I mentioned before, this is a story that takes place in the frontier of Japan in the early 1900s. It's basically the equivalent of the Western genre, but it's happening in Japan. You know, you have characters that used to be soldiers that move out, in this case north, but usually in America it'd be west, and characters that are native to the region, in this case the Ainu, replacing the Native Americans that we're used to, and there's some conflict over gold and over land and over who gets to own what, right? And there's this interesting kind of byplay there in some senses where the characters are kind of struggling against nature and against society and against each other, and it's very, very, classic Western style storytelling. It's also historical fiction. It's based in a historical setting at the end of the Russo-Japanese War during the Meiji Restoration period, and it is kind of like a Western story, which are historical fiction anyway, so there's that. It's also an action-oriented manga, and it does have an adaptation as an anime. It's pretty good. I remember watching about 5 or 6 episodes of it, and I quite liked it, but I prefer to read manga, so I've been reading it instead of watching it because I think it's just better, right? The rating for this arc is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. I think it was really, really enjoyable. I like the characters introduced here a lot, and I enjoyed the difficulty that the characters face that isn't directly tied to their interest in the gold storyline, right? And yeah, so I'll mention it again later. The premise is that there's this hunt going on, but it's not just for substance. It's for glory and honor. It's basically a character who is a prize hunter of some sort, who usually hunts bears, and then decides that he wants to hunt wolves instead as his last great hunt because he's finally found an Ezo wolf, right? Which obviously is retard. So yeah, the plot line opens up with our team deer hunting. They make snowshoes, and our team in this case consists of Sugimoto, Asurpa, and Shirahishi, I think is his name, the escape artist. They make snowshoes to traverse the land easier, and they shoot a deer, but they have to chase it down because they didn't hit it properly. And so as they're chasing it down, they bump up against other hunters. In this case, we get to meet Tetsuso Nihei and Tanigaki, who was a character that we know before because he was the guy that had his leg broken by Sugimoto, if I remember correctly. It might have been by Asurpa, but I think it was Sugimoto earlier in the story, right? And these two characters want to hunt this big white Ezo wolf that they found. It turns out that this wolf is the same as the wolf that we're friends with, Retar. And so now we have a situation where the characters are interacting in nature, but also having to deal with other people that are hunting a member of their team, right? A member of their party. And so it's pretty cool. We get to learn that Nihei is a really crazy-ass motherfucker, but he's really, really awesome. He hunts bears. He's known all the bears that he's hunted in some way, and he really deeply understands them. Whereas Tanigaki is from a group of villagers, I guess you could call them, that are also very special hunters, but the way that they hunt is quite different. Tanigaki is all about rules and kind of regulating and kind of minimizing their effect on the world, whereas Nihei is all about being up in their face and hunting the bears by enraging them, right, and making them come after him. And so they kind of have a very different way of looking at things, but they're doing an interesting job, right? And it's pretty cool. I liked it a lot. We can see that the characters bed down for the night. The hunt will continue another day, and then the next day they continue to chase this deer that they shot, where Nihei and Tanigaki come closer. Sugimoto freezes in a moment of like PTSD almost. As he's going to attack the deer to kill it, he realizes that he doesn't want to kill anything anymore, and well, he has to deal with that, but he doesn't really. This is kind of like a thing that seems to be something that will continue on for a few volumes. So the Renar, or Retar, I think is his name, the wolf, Renar, or Retar, grabs the deer, and then a Serpa kills it. And as they prep it, Nihei and Tanigaki show up. Then Shiraishi shows up as well, even though he was with the team at the beginning. He left and then comes back, and he eats with Sugimoto and a Serpa. Nihei and Tanigaki talk, and they discuss, that Nihei has the tattoos that all the characters are looking for, right? He used to be imprisoned with Napora Bo, and so he has these tattoos. And then finally, the characters meet up for a final standoff, right? After Nihei was kind of outsmarted by Renar, they all kind of interact with each other. Sugimoto beats Nihei, but not for long. Then Tanigaki is caught by an Ainu arrow, which poisons him, and a Serpa decides to save him and takes him back to her village, right? Then Renar, or Retar, I can't remember if it's with a T or an N, the wolf, Retar, and Nihei have a fight. Nihei has already been damaged by Sugimoto. I think he cut some of his fingers off. And then as Nihei is maybe going to beat Renar, his mate, another as a wolf that was unknown, shows up, and she manages to force Nihei to abandon the fight, and then due to his wounds, he bleeds out and dies. And so thankfully, the wolves don't become the evil Kamuy that the Serpa is always afraid that they will, right? That happens when, according to Ainu tradition, when animals kill humans, where these animals become cursed and they become evil. Kind of like a Wendigo type thing, but not exactly the same, because a Wendigo is when a human eats other people. These animals would have to eat people in a vengeful way in order for them to become these evil gods, right? And so thankfully, Renar and his mate and their pups don't become this, and he doesn't die either, thanks to his mate arriving on time. And Nihei dies from his wounds, and of course they collect his skin and take on his tattoo for themselves, right? Then in terms of characters, we don't really learn too much. I mean, we get to learn about Tetsuo Nihei, but then he dies. So this is a character that's introduced and then immediately removed from the story. So it's very enjoyable, but not super valuable in terms of long-term character development, right? And Tanigaki seems to be a character that will eventually join our team, and he becomes a little bit more relevant, and his skills at hunting might be useful for our team, right? So I appreciate that. In terms of world building, not really anything super major. We learn about the Matagi, who are this village people that Tanigaki belongs to, who have this like very specific process to hunting, and they're renowned across Japan as very important, very useful hunters. But we don't really learn too much about them, just the basics, right? They're just kind of like very ritualistic about their hunting. In terms of artwork and fanservice, the artwork is awesome. There's no fanservice in the any fanservice that I would like, but there's definitely a lot of naked dudes. So if you're like a Fujo or you're, whatever, you might like it. I don't necessarily dislike it. I think it was fine. Like it fit within the context of the story, and it works for people that are interested in it. I didn't see any value in it personally, but I didn't really care either way. Like, it's perfectly acceptable. It was pretty funny. The way that the nudity in this story works is usually for like shock value or for like humor. And since it's like locker room talk, essentially, it's usually kind of funny. But your mileage may vary there depending on your preferences, right? And ratings wise, a 4.5 out of 5. Like I said, it was basically nearly perfect. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really interesting character exploration. But in some senses, the fact that it was so short and that we got introduced to such a cool character and then he immediately died did kind of harm the rating, in my opinion. Like, I would have given it a 5 out of 5 if Nihei became a member of our team that just kind of constantly butted heads with Asurpa and Sugimoto, right? So those are my thoughts there. Let me know what you thought down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys later.